If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it, clap your hands. Welcome to another episode of Later That Sane Life. I'm Larry Fedoruk, and on this weekly podcast, topics, discussions, stories from our lives.
Season 8, Chapter 1.
Key to Happiness.
Did you know that since 1938, Harvard University has been doing a study on happiness? This is not only the longest objective controlled study on this topic, but it's Harvard. A lot of smart people go to Harvard. Of course, I've always wondered how many morons have somehow snuck into Harvard. I mean, they've been around for almost 400 years. Thousands of students per year. Odds alone would dictate that over that time, some morons slipped through the cracks, somehow beat the system, and ended up walking around Harvard with a low double-digit IQ. Hey, since I'm already on a tangent, the average American IQ is 98. Normal body temperature is 98.6. That means most Americans are warmer than they are smarter. I really think there can be morons at Harvard. You know, local city college, well, that's a given. I believe city colleges actually have moron clubs. They meet Tuesdays and Thursdays in the lower concourse next to the chess club. But I wonder, who are the morons at Harvard? Now, for the purpose of this podcast, I will assume that the Harvard Happiness Study, now in its 85th year, has been conducted by the Harvard Non-Moron Division, and that these guys know what they're talking about. After that many years, researchers have released the so-called Key to Happiness. They published a book about it. It's called The Good Life: Lessons from the World's Longest Scientific Study on Happiness. And I'm not going to make you wait too much longer before I reveal the secret. But first, let me say, originally in 1938, Harvard started out with just over 700 participants. About a third of those were sophomores at Harvard and included people like JFK. Later, they added about 400 less privileged inner-city kids from Boston. Even later, they incorporated over 1,300 descendants of all of those people, and they kept tracking them over 8 decades. Retention rate on those in the study is an amazingly high 84%. Every 2 years, participants answer a lengthy questionnaire. Every 5 years, they surrender medical records. Every 15 years, an in-depth face-to-face interview is conducted. And what have these non-moron Harvard researchers discovered? The key to happiness is... Drum roll, please. Oh yeah, no drum roll. I forgot. I hate drum rolls. The key is good relationships. That's it, man. Good relationships. Good relationships will leave you not only happier, but healthier. This is science. This is research. People who maintained active connections with family, friends, and community were happier and healthier. Is it really that simple? Well, relationships themselves aren't always simple, but yeah, good relationships. I believe this to be true. On a previous podcast, I talked about stress, how it impedes our good feelings, both physically and mentally. Over the years, and outside of Harvard, we've had scientific evidence of this. I've spoken before about biologist-neurologist Dr. Robert Sapolsky.
Wow, science has finally proven that friends are good for your health. Science has proven this big time. If you got a choice in the matter, don't be socially isolated. Social isolation is an aching stressor for every primate out there, including us, and a huge health risk factor.
All right. Good relationships are the key to happiness. Well, here was my first question. Maybe it's yours. I'm basically an introvert. I find that being around a lot of people can be exhausting. I guess happiness through relationships is out for me. Well, the study has also shown that it's not about quantity, but about quality. Even if you have at least one meaningful relationship in your life, you'll be happier. And that does not mean that your happiness is all on that person, or even that that person has to be a significant other in your life. No, as long as you can have at least somewhat of a meaningful relationship with one other person. And that could be one phone call once a week or every couple of weeks. Well, that will be better for you. Something is better than nothing. Nothing is isolation, which leads to loneliness, which can bring on depression, which is even more stress, which then keeps the uneasy cycle churning in your gut. Better to reach out to someone. Another important fact coming out of this research is that it's never too late. There are countless stories of people who have found friendships, relationships later in life. It can work anytime, and almost regardless of your social skill level. Now, on that, there are some people who have better social skills than others, and they seem to make friends easier. But poorer social skills are not a deal breaker. You don't have to be the life of the proverbial party to find someone to have meaningful moments with. You know how you improve your social skills? Start. Practice. Talk to a stranger. Start with a familiar stranger, someone you see all the time, the cashier, the barista, the bus driver. And what we can also do as adults is help our children have better social skills, or at least a lesser fear of social interaction, so that it's easier for them going forward in life. We want our kids to be happy, right? Well, if good relationships are the key to happiness, then lay the groundwork as best you can. If nothing else, lead by example. Which reminds me, everyone today talks about the scourge on modern-day relationships brought about by social media. Evil social media. Agreed, it's a problem. Here's the fix. Active versus passive. If you actively use social media to connect, reconnect, or just say hi, it can be a positive experience. If you passively scroll by everyone else's lunch and vacation photos, you will become isolated by the fact that everyone else's life seems to be better than yours, which it likely is not. Social media is like any relationship. You get what you give. Plus, social and mental well-being isn't a one-off. It's got to be a regular practice. Isn't it funny that when it comes to physical health, we understand that exercise and diet have to be a habit? It's not just one long walk and one apple. It's an apple a day and a few good walks per week, every week. Yet with mental and social health, we don't always apply the same principle. An email, a text, a phone call, a cup of coffee with someone. That has to be a regular part of your life. And again, they can be small actions, but keeping connected is the key. John Donne was the 16th century poet who said, "No man is an island." The entire first verse actually goes, "No man is an island, entire of self. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main," unquote. I think what he meant is keep connected. During this Harvard multi-generational study, people have often wondered about the influence of pets and of religion on our happiness. For some people, pets are a religion. But here's what they found. Pets and or religion can be of great comfort to people, especially in times of traumas or stress. But overall, religious pet people weren't any happier than us non-pet heathens. Speaking of religion, I had a random song pop into my head the other day. I don't know where it came from, other than my childhood. I found out the song was a hit for many different artists, but the one I would remember would be from the Maguire Sisters in 1954. It's called Open Up Your Heart, although many of us may call it Let the Sun Shine In. Remember? So let the sun shine in. Face it with a grin. Smilers never lose. Frowners never win. So let the sun shine in. Face it with a grin. Open up your heart and let the sun shine in. Well, that sounds like a 1950s oversimplified solution to everything. Just smile, and happiness will follow. So I played the entire song on YouTube, and then I remembered the other lyrics. Here's one verse. When you are unhappy, the devil wears a grin, but oh, he starts a-running. When the light comes pouring in, I know he'll be unhappy, 'cause I'll never wear a frown. Maybe if we keep smiling, he'll get tired of hanging around. So let the sun shine in. Oh, then further, here's another verse. If I forget to say my prayers, the devil wears a grin, but he feels so awful when he sees me on my knees. So if you're full of trouble and you never seem to win, just open up your heart and let the sun shine in. 1950s happy song. Wow. You know, they took my lovely childhood sunshine and they turned it into some Bible-thumping hymn. I think Harvard might disagree with their religious propaganda on how to achieve happiness. Do I actively have to build and keep connections with friends, family, and community in order to facilitate my own happiness? Or just say my prayers and walk around smiling? Well, you decide for you. About 30 years after that song, Bobby McFerrin came along with Don't Worry, Be Happy. That was a little less godly, but at the same time, as an inspiration for happiness, a little, oversimplified. 30 years after that, Pharrell Williams had his song. He just called it Happy. Not even any real advice there, just I'm happy. It was a happy song. And yeah, music can help make us happy, but usually because it conjures up relationships and memories. And that's the real key, remember? Good relationships. Hey, Elton, I know sad songs say so much, but given a choice, I'll take the peppy, happy toe tapper every time. Shiny, happy people. Happy birthday. Happy holidays. Happy trails. Happy days. Happy hour. Happy Jack. If it makes you happy, so happy together. You've made me so very happy. Hey, where's my smiley face t-shirt? Just put it on and let the good times roll. Okay, here's the thing. I'll admit this. Whenever I say the word happiness, there is this movie that always comes to mind. I can't help it, so I'm going to share it. It's an old movie, 1970. It's called There's a Girl in My Soup, starring Peter Sellers and Goldie Hawn. Sellers plays a vain, womanizing host of a popular British TV cooking show. Goldie Hawn becomes one of his conquests. He whisks her away to France for a weekend tryst, and they pretend to be newlyweds to get the exclusive bridal suite. The French bellhop, attempting his best English, goes to wish them happiness. Happiness. And he says this as he leaves their room.
And we all hope you'll have a penis all your life.
Happiness. Happiness. Hey, if that's what you want, I too hope you have a penis all of your life. All right, I got that out of the way. Seriously, though, that one scene has ruined the word happiness for me for most of my life.
And we all hope you'll have a penis all your life.
I hear the word happiness and immediately think of penis, which is probably true for most guys, just not for the same reason. I hear happiness and I think of that scene, and then I snicker to myself like I'm 12. Here's another interesting part of the decades-long Harvard survey on happiness. When they interviewed adolescents about what they wanted out of life, two of the most popular answers were fortune and fame, sometimes both. However, when they interviewed people in their 70s and 80s about what they were most proud of and grateful for in their lives, most said friendships, relationships, being a good partner, things like that. Those were the accomplishments. We are always reminded that money can't buy happiness, but we chase money anyway, just in case. When you're younger, rich and miserable seems less problematic than broke but happy. I always thought that even though money cannot buy happiness, I could get really, really rich and then pay a lot of really depressed people to hang around so that my life seemed joyous by comparison. Rich people actually do that, by the way. It's called an entourage. Speaking of my own personal happiness, I was recently watching an interview with an old English rock star. I'll tell you who it was. It was Ian Anderson of Jethro Tull. And he used the phrase, as happy as Larry. As happy as Larry? I'd never heard that before. So I looked it up. It goes back to the late 1800s before boxing was fully legalized. A boxer named Larry Folin won a huge amount of money. And in reporting the story, a New Zealand newspaper used the headline, as happy as Larry. The phrase caught on and made its way throughout the Commonwealth, lasting for years and years. I'm as happy as Larry. Who knew a saying about happiness would include my name? Seems ironic, actually. But there you go. As happy as Larry. It's something the Brits still say. And Bob's your uncle. So there you have it, about 85 years of Harvard non-moron research telling us that the key to happiness and health is good relationships. And that as far as relationships go, we have to work at them, at least a little. And many other studies, not as Harvard-y, seem to back them up. Fascinating to me, by the way, that the United States Declaration of Independence, guaranteed by your Creator, whomever you deem that to be, are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's a guarantee. They said it right there. It's in writing. Interesting wording, though, huh? So life and liberty, there you go. You got that out of the gate. But happiness? Well, you got to chase that. We can only guarantee your right to pursue it. Catching it, well, you're on your own. We wouldn't actually guarantee your happiness. We couldn't. That would be ridiculous. I know a lot of businesses do offer a satisfaction guarantee, satisfaction guaranteed, or your money back. But alas, satisfaction is not happiness. It's a distant cousin. It would be great if someone could guarantee your happiness for you, happiness guaranteed, or your life back. I don't know what you're saying. You guarantee your own happiness. Well, yeah, maybe. Especially now that we have the key. The Declaration of Independence goes on to say that these rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, are the reasons that governments are created to protect. Of course, in the current climate of the United States and, well, a lot of the world, really, life and liberty aren't guaranteed either these days. The problem, as I see it, is it's a Declaration of Independence. When what Harvard is saying, I think, is that we should all make a declaration of reliance. I'm relying on my relationships to help ensure my happiness. And if you're counting on someone else, just remember others have to be able to count on you.
Later That Same Life is written, voiced, and produced by Larry Fedoruk. LarryFedoruk37@gmail.com. Subscribe to Larry's podcast YouTube channel. Get automatic notifications with each new episode.
And we all hope you'll have a penis all your life.